Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to AVX Live. I'm Joe Gilderson, and my co-host Ryan French, Creative Technology Director.
We're gonna breeze right past that Ryan French.
Listen, dude, I don't even know if you're part of this show. I just
great start.
I was gonna say Alexa, but
This is my co-host Joe Gunderson.
I think that's like the third time I've heard that today. Anyway, so here we are. We're actually a minute behind. We're not going to tell you why, but we worked it all out. That's all I'm going to say. Either way, we have another fun show. Today we have an interesting twist to our technology side. And so I'm looking forward to bringing him on as a great guest. Ryan, tell people how they can find you.
Well, that's a great point because people should know. You can find us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube every Wednesday, 1 o'clock, maybe 1:04. We'll see. Depends on how the day's going. And while you're there, drop us a comment, share, subscribe, smash the subscribe button, all the above. Show some love. We definitely appreciate it. And we're going to try to do this again every week, maybe on time next week. Who knows?
Hey, listen, thank you, Mr. French. I appreciate that. I couldn't pull that off. I tried. I couldn't. All right. Well, let me tell you a little bit about our guest today because that's kind of my part of the show. So I'm going to do that. So we are very happy to have Seth Reiber, a video creator, on today. Seth has been pursuing his passion for videography since he was old enough to hold a camcorder.
Camcorder.
With over a decade as the videographer for a hospital network, Seth has used his creative vision to craft videos that provide essential support to patients and staff, as well as deliver crucial health education to those living in the Hudson Valley region. Most recently, Seth has launched Vast Videography, a media production company focused on creating videos that speak to the individual spirit and needs of each client. He also has a whole bunch of different channels on YouTube, which we will discuss at some point today. Seth has spent years learning to perfect every skill needed for the highest quality video production and continues to follow the evolution of industry standards. Oh, there you go. That's a nice 9-inch nails jersey.
There you go.
Yeah.
Did you say jersey?
I did. Is jersey not?
You might have to pack it in for the day.
I think jersey's pretty accepted. Just because you're born in 1991 doesn't mean hoodie. It has a zipper.
Oh,
come on now.
Introduce the guest.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Seth Reiber. Seth,
hello.
Jersey or hoodie? What's the verdict?
I just call it a sweater.
All right,
that would have been fine too.
Yeah.
Seth, you hear me, right?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can see
okay.
you guys.
All right,
yeah.
That's good. See, problem solved. We did it.
Sorry for being late.
No,
that's nice.
Honestly, I don't think you missed anything. If you heard any of Ryan's opening, I don't think you missed much.
Are we supposed to drink before we come on to the show? Because it seemed like you're.
It's not specifically encouraged, but
right.
I mean, we do a 1 o'clock show for a reason.
Now, if this were Friday at 1 o'clock, it'd be a completely different story.
Totally different ballgame. But Seth, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Excellent. We're hanging in there. I see you have a nice TV in the background. I was kind of hoping you'd have like an AVX Live logo up there, but well, I guess we'll take that.
Actually, I have it off on purpose because when we're streaming, doing any kind of Zoom call, it messes with the compressing algorithm and screws up all the stuff. So
that was very technical sounding.
The less movement in the background, the better. You guys know that though.
I see what you're saying. Okay, that makes complete sense to my tech.
It was really, really good. I'm so glad you're on the show because that's what we needed.
You guys know about compression, right? Come on.
Whatever you say, man. You're the video creator.
Officially, the answer is yes to everybody watching here. Yes, we know what Seth's talking about. That's why I have one of these guys. Nothing happens. No moving. Doesn't mess with the compression.
Right.
That's it. That's exactly the reason.
Not to hide your liquor cabinet.
No. Exactly.
So, Seth, how'd you get into creating videos?
It's funny, on the way to work this morning, I was thinking about one of my earliest memories of getting into creating videos, or in general, like creating videos or audio recordings in general. I had seen, I don't know if you guys remember this. I think it was in the 80s. There was a movie called the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So, my mother had bought me a boombox, and the boombox had a microphone input
Vince, do you
port.
know what a boombox is?
Don't insult me. Continue, Seth.
He knows what a boom. It's the precursor to Bluetooth speakers.
Oh,
Yeah.
you held it on your arm like this while you're
It had
skateboarding. Come on.
It had a cassette tape player in it.
Vince,
And
do
I
you know
had
what
a-
a cassette tape is?
Oh, jeez. All right, Seth, back at it.
Sorry.
Yeah, all right. So she got me some blank cassette tapes, and I figured out how to plug in a headphone, because I didn't have a microphone. I had headphones, and I plugged in the headphones into the microphone port, and then I would put my mouth to the cup of the headphones and scream into the headphone, and that recorded my audio. So I made like a makeshift microphone using a headphone. I had to figure out how to do this, and I ended up recording my own review of this Ninja Turtles movie, and I added sound effects and stuff, and from that point I wanted to do something in video, even though I didn't have a camera at the time. But I knew I wanted to do something in video because I felt like I could have made that movie better, because I knew better than them. I didn't. But the movie doesn't hold up, but it was still a pretty good movie for when you're a kid to watch.
I
You know,
completely agree.
This explains a lot, and I think we got to work on our screening our guests ahead of time. a little
Oh,
bit.
come on.
Oh, man. Well, so, look, everyone believes at that age, right, that you're like, no, this is how they should have done it. I mean, come
yeah.
on, obviously. So this, although, I mean, also what we're touching on here is, YouTubers now doing reviews of everything under the sun. You were like the first one.
No.
Wow.
I'm sure I wasn't the first one. I may
Well, I
have
don't
been the
mean
first one to
YouTuber.
figure out that you could plug a headphone into a microphone port, and if you scream loud enough, it'll record something.
We'll take it.
I'll take that.
Experimenting with technology, and you came up with something. It doesn't actually make sense. I mean, I guess like the cone of the headset, right? Sending something.
Yeah, if you scream into the left headphone really loudly, it'll pick up just a little bit.
What I'd like to know is, how did you discover this?
I just was very frustrated. I didn't know what to do. I really wanted a microphone, but I didn't know any of the nuances of how the wiring worked, but it worked.
There's something so funny about that too, because like in theory it shouldn't work at all, right?
Yeah.
And just a frustrated kid is like, oh, that worked. Did
Yeah,
that become like a metaphor for the rest of your life now? You're
Yeah,
like, well,
pretty
when in
much.
doubt, just scream into it. And
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
oh, that's a pretty
There
good
you
one.
go. A little bit of
It's
trial
my
and error.
version of blowing into the cartridge for Nintendo games.
Again,
Right.
another thing that theoretically shouldn't work at all, and yet
It does.
it does.
Doesn't anymore, but it used to. Now everything's digital, so
Well, you just got to turn it off and turn it back on.
yeah, right. Yeah.
We already tried that earlier today, and it didn't work
Yeah.
this time. But oh well.
Okay, so how long have you been? You kind of have a different role right now, right? You're
Yeah.
at a hospital network, which I think we're allowed to say is Westchester Medical Center, but you're in kind of an unusual role for a hospital.
Very unusual, yeah. So now, recently I was promoted to assistant director of photography and videography for the whole network. So now I'm in charge. Now, if honestly, it feels like most of what I do is writing scripts or tweaking other people's scripts, and at least that's what I've been doing for the 2022 so far. Recording is a lot easier when you have a script down, and it makes everything go a lot smoother.
It does.
Wow, does it make it smoother? I'm glad that we implemented this process, and I'm able to kind of I don't want to say control that, but I'm able to at least work with the teammates that I have for each video, which is a different team each video, and craft this process, and it's working really, really well. I gotta say,
It's interesting. So prior to having the script, what would you do?
So I would do an interview with somebody. I would schedule about half an hour, 45 minutes. I would do an interview with somebody, and try to get them to say something without telling them, hey, say this, hey, say this,
Right.
hey, say that. So you kind of try to craft the questions to get them to say what you want them to say. Or sometimes they surprise you, which happens a lot, and they say something even better. Most of the time they say something better because it's more genuine.
Right.
But then editing that down, you have a 45-minute interview, and you edit that down to 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It's difficult because it takes you a solid 2 full days of working just to find the right sound bites.
Hmm.
And sometimes the inflection doesn't work. Sometimes they say something and end in a question mark, and you really wish they hadn't, so it could blend better with this other part they said.
And how much are you, like, when that's being captured? Obviously I know you do a lot of video editing. You're thinking of it from that, like, editing brain, right?
Always,
you're like,
yeah.
I mean, I would have to imagine that helps, coming from having done the cutting to then being more in like a producer role, right? Where you're like actually extracting the content out of it. I have to imagine that kind of helps, just knowing what the end looks like.
It really does. When I'm recording somebody, I have in my head, as they're talking, I can almost see the timeline, my linear timeline of how I'm going to put their words in a certain order. And sometimes I put them in different orders to fit the narrative better. I never try, and it's a fine line too. You never want to make them say something that they didn't intend to say.
Right.
So you have to figure out a way to do it the right way. And if while I'm thinking about it, if I go, the way she said this would work over here, but it doesn't fit because she didn't it doesn't blend well with this. So I then will ask a question to kind of see if I can lead her or him into that pathway. And then sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. But.
And you also touched on, having a different crew, having a different team working on each video. Do you have to manage the productions at any end differently depending on the crew that you're working with, strengths and weaknesses, or, just managing the different roles differently?
Yes and no. For the most part, if I work with a certain department, it's just a different group of people that I work with. They have all been great so far, and I've been here since 2007. So
it says that right on your watch there?
Yeah. I keep a countdown time.
Wow, it's 14 years. That's amazing.
So, for the most part, it's been people will let me take the reins and let me guide the video process along. It's a blessing. There are some people who you interview and they end up just doing this the whole time and talking like robots, and you have to figure out a way to kind of like, hey, you look like a robot. Calm down a little bit, try to relax, maybe, It doesn't always work, but you have to figure out a way to do that. You have to interpersonal skills is very important to get the story to sound right. And sometimes I end up just scrapping a video because it just doesn't really work. That happened once or twice.
I was going to say, and being working for a hospital network, I'd imagine, hey, could you drink 2 of these and let's try that again? Doesn't really work as well.
Nope. I have asked if we could have a little bit of alcohol on campus, and they said no.
Well, no,
I was joking when I asked.
You're joking, but not, because tell me it wouldn't make your job easier at times.
I don't drink, so
okay.
But I understand that human beings do, because I'm not a normal human being. But I totally would understand that taking a nip or 2 would help people relax, so they could give a better interview. But then there's another weird balance. They took too much.
Right. It's a bell curve. Yeah.
Yeah. And for the most part, I think when I walk into a room wearing a hoodie, or as whatever you call this, wearing the clothes that I do, I feel like they're immediately more relaxed, because I'm not just some guy coming in there wearing a suit saying, hey, I need you to say this and that. And they feel like, oh, okay, sure, I'll say this. I actually wore a suit here for about a year or 2, and all the videos I made during those 2 years were just different. They had a different feel to them, and they were less warm. And I started dressing down a little bit more and more, and I scared a kid one time. I went into we have
Tell
a
us more.
Hospital here. I scared a kid a lot of times, but we were filming for a music video, and I started wearing a 3-piece suit. Because if you're gonna wear a suit, wear a 3-piece suit. Right?
Absolutely, 100%.
So I go into the patient's room, and he was just terrified of me. For those of you who don't know me, I'm 6'5", 300 and something pounds, so I'm a very big man. Walking into a room in general scares people, but wearing a suit is even worse. And the kid did not want to be involved in any way. So then I had the thought of, like, what if I just came back here the next day wearing a normal street outfit? I wonder if it would make a difference. So I did, and the kid was happy to see me. He was excited, and we got a great video clip out of him. He actually wrote "fight" across his fingers, and he punched at the camera, and it was really, really cool the way he did it. Yeah, look
Wow.
great.
Well, yeah. Look, the soft skills. I'd imagine when you're trying to come away with often emotional driven content, right? Your storytelling. There's got to be something non-mechanical, something human, involved, and drawing that out of people. I'm sure is part of the craft.
It is, and you have to do it in a genuine way. You have to. You can't do it poorly. I don't know how to word that better. You have to be genuine to the people that you're
can't
interviewing
suck
and
at it.
talking to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah. I didn't want to say that, but
Well, I
You
would
can say
imagine
anything.
that you have to be sincere to get a sincere reaction,
Right.
right?
yeah. It's not even
Because
just
it's
sincerity.
hard
It
when
depends on the person too. You have to make them laugh or make them relax, but also not force it. You don't want to force feed them their own feelings. You have to get them to go with it, the flow. Doesn't always work. There are some people that probably hate my guts. Looking at Joe here.
I was gonna say, and
Well, there probably are some people when they see me coming with a camera like, oh God, this guy again, and they run away. I'm sure that happens. I would do it.
I think that you wouldn't be doing it for this long, and I've seen a lot of the videos. They're very good. So
Thank you.
I can't imagine they would keep having you do that if it was going to be a problem and you were
Yeah.
scaring the kids,
That's true. Yeah.
But
I only scared
you know,
one
just
kid.
I'm sure it was more. But
That
just
you
to
know
back
of, yeah.
up, how did you get into that role? You've been there for, you said, 14 years.
Yeah.
So what did you start when you got there originally? What were you doing when you arrived?
So when I got to the hospital, I was doing low voltage cable pulling. So I was installing data lines and phone lines for another company as a vendor. And that evolved into designing a conference room. And then that evolved into getting hired to do digital signage, which I did very briefly. And then I made a music video without exactly telling everybody I was making the music video. I did it with the child life department. We picked a song together, and we went around and we filmed a couple of kids. We got consent forms signed. We got everything done legally, which was very important because I didn't want to get in trouble afterwards. And right about 90% completion with that video. For the record, I had no idea what I was doing. I was trying my best. And about 90% completion, somebody said, hey, Seth's working on a music video, to one of the superiors here in the hospital, and they found out about it, and I thought I was
so
done.
fired.
I thought I was fired. I was like, oh, it's not done, please don't.
Was
really
it a
thought I
Nine
was
Inch
done.
Nails song?
No, it was a Rachel Platten song. It was the fight song, Rachel Platten.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Now it makes sense.
Yeah, and we showed it to the boss, and right at the end of the video, she turned and looked at me, and she had some tears in her eyes, and she said, "What's next? How are you going to complete this?" And I was like, "Oh, thank God!"
Wow.
So after that video was successful, I was told that this is what I'll be doing from now on, and I was super happy about it because that's what I always wanted to do. I always wanted to be a video creator, and getting permission and getting the support from the people that I work with was the most important thing to do that. I felt like I couldn't do it without that. I mean, I couldn't do it without that, but to be a videographer at a hospital, I think is very unique.
Wow. That's one of those taking initiative things that I hear people talking about, right? You went out on a limb, just totally,
It could have been a disaster.
unsanctioned. Yeah.
I'm
Well,
crying a little bit because I'm a weak man.
No, well, look, again, you wouldn't be good at telling stories if you couldn't, bring your own emotions to the table.
Let me tell you something, by the way. Filming children and seeing the strength that they can muster up to do a music video for a song that none of them even liked, frankly. It made me cry filming them. It made me cry editing them. Every time I watch the video, I cry. I feel like I cry more in this job than I've ever cried in my whole life.
Wow.
And we did a second music video that was a sequel that I cried almost as much doing that one too. It's these kids are so powerful. Like, I don't know how they do it. I really don't.
Now,
And that's what brings me to work
Right.
every day.
well, I was just going to say, I mean, it sounds like, from the very beginning with the work that you're doing, you created a sense of purpose that I would imagine that making content, making videos prior to that was more just fun, and then it became something different.
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's kind of what it sounded like.
It's fair to say, yeah. A lot of the videos I've made were very informative. Most of the videos that I make for the hospital network, no one really sees because they're meant for internal uses, like you know, orientation or how to do a specific medical procedure or how to make sure that you don't get infected with COVID.
Right.
You know, in the operating room, there's a lot of stuff I do that's internal that no one will see, at least on the outside world, and I'm okay with that because I feel like I'm helping as a healthcare worker. I'm helping my other teammates to do something better or learn from them, learn a lot of procedures from them. So some of them I don't really want to know, but some of them I'm happy to be a part of. Like how to insert a catheter. I don't want to know that, but I had to make a video for it to teach other people how to do it. So.
Right.
So is this like one of those I stayed at a Holiday Inn last night kind of things?
No. I'm not saying I'm a doctor, but you know, I certainly know a little bit about a little bit.
Well, I think in the role you're in, storytelling's a little different for a hospital network.
Oh yeah.
How? Like, what are the differences?
Oh, it depends on the video that you're making. So there's some videos that are public facing. So burn awareness videos, for instance. We film a doctor talking about how not to burn yourself in the kitchen. We actually just wrapped on that recording, and we have to figure out a way to record that without showing graphic stuff.
Right.
Because burns are bad. Burns are very graphic, and we never really film any of that stuff because it's a lot of the stuff that we don't film is me saying no, I can't do that because I just can't mentally handle certain things, and I know for the most part my limitations of what I can and can't film. But
nobody wants to see that anyways. I mean, let's be honest, right?
They don't, but there are people who do who need to get into that field and want to know what they're getting into. So there's a part of that, and I feel like there's almost an obligation for me to do that, to show interested parties how to do a certain procedure properly. And that's difficult, but I do it because I know it's going to help people in the future, and I know that the more research that's done and the more that I can help, the more people will be interested. If I film it with a nice high quality, or if I do the storytelling in the right way, it will invigorate people's drive to want to be part of that process, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, well, and again, it's interesting the parallel there, whether it was the video you're making for the kids, but it's still a sense of purpose at the core of it.
It
right?
is.
You're still doing it for something beyond just, I like making videos.
Yeah. I also like making videos.
Well, and when you can marry those two, I'd say that's a winning combination. But
a lot of the videos that I do for the hospital don't involve any humor, and that's okay with me. I don't think they necessarily need to. I would love to put humor in everything I do. I put humor in everything I do that's not part of the health network. But it helps balance a little bit because I feel like I'm a very humorous person, and that helps balance my brain. So I do some side work just to make more fun things, because a lot of stuff I do is just mostly educational.
I think that one's...
Oh, sorry, Joe. Go ahead. Try that again.
I think that one's pretty easy to see. But let's see. There you go. But I know that you have multiple channels with different things on them, and
I do.
Some of them are very interesting. Like your morning routine. I mean, just your hair in this clip is pretty good by itself.
Oh, those are video games. I'm supposed to take those off.
So a quick clip. That's it. Quick clip.
Okay.
So just out of curiosity, how'd you shoot this?
We have a canopy on our bed, and I just mounted a camera to the canopy, and that's our cat in the corner trying to get under the blankets. Yeah.
Clearly, yes.
Oh, there's stuff. There we go.
There it is. Yeah.
That's what we wanted to freeze on. Honestly, we just wanted that part. But I think the idea of I don't know what's going to come next, so I don't want to put it on the screen.
Oh no, it's fine. I brushed my teeth and get a cup of coffee. I told you they were safe. I promise they're safe.
That's
I
on
know that I'm
YouTube,
normally
yeah.
not a very safe person, but those are safe. I made them to be shareable and no curse words. So, which if anybody who knows me, that's very difficult for me to not curse.
Well, I mean, you've cleaned it up so far, so
Well,
it's just about the situation.
I was told I had to.
I mean, look, this is going out to Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. I mean, these are professional audiences that we're going out to.
I
here.
would say
Yeah.
my buddy Omar, though, he took this thing to the streets, and I mean, you know,
Oh, did he really?
oh yeah, we had an R-rated show. I mean,
Oh wow.
I'm okay with it. You know, I don't have a problem with it.
Well,
But either way, I think the idea is that you're trying to do some fun storytelling at the same time that you might have some day-to-day, very serious and heavier topics.
yeah. So there's actually a story behind the unprotected Seth clips. We did with a couple of people that I work with here. I'm not going to name them, but there's I think there was 7 of us total, or six or 7 of us total. For the month of December, we were going to do short 30-second clips and submit them. They were going to submit them to me, and I was going to put them together. And I did this all. We did this all in our personal time. And it was just like an exercise to kind of get to know each other better and see if we can do something creative as a collaboration. And I gave them each topic. So the first topic was morning routine. Second was evening routine. Third was hobby. Fourth was something else. I can't remember. A family tradition that you don't really enjoy. I think mine was tree decorating. I really don't like decorating a Christmas tree. I've always not liked it. Anyways, hate
It's
it.
truly
I love
Grinch.
Christmas trees and they look
That's
beautiful.
Grinch-like
And
behavior.
I love the Christmas tree. Susie does an amazing job decorating our tree. It's beautiful. I put not a single ornament on it. I'm a little upset about that, but I should have helped. Anyways, so we did these clips together, and we all made we call the stories from the studio, and we made these clips, and I wanted to publish the clips publicly, but I didn't think the rest of the team wanted that because it was just for the internal group, just for a couple of us here. So I liked mine enough, and I just put them out there publicly, and I made a YouTube channel, and I called it Unprotected Seth. There was about 400 different names that we were going with. And Susie's my girlfriend. She came up with Unprotected Seth, and I just ran with that. I loved it. I thought it was a funny name.
That is great.
So,
And out of curiosity, look at that.
Total evidence of you actually decorating the tree.
yeah. That was the last video I published yesterday.
You'd actually get along with one of my old roommates. I had just finished decorating a Christmas tree, and he came home, and for reasons we won't get into, he grabbed the Christmas tree and dragged it outside and threw it off the balcony.
Well, what a very pleasant fellow.
He actually is. He's a great guy. But in any case, that was kind of a fun anecdote. Man, I had a question. I was going. Oh, so these videos, you reached out to your colleagues to say, hey, I want to do this. Are these people that you continue to work with? They're still around you?
Yeah.
Was there something it sounds like you're trying to build connection and camaraderie with your team there.
They had all expressed interest at one time or another to do some kind of video work. So I thought it might be a cool
Also, they
idea
weren't in the
to
video
incorporate them.
team.
They were in. Yeah. No, they're not.
they are.
No, there is. The video team consists of myself, the photographer Devell, and another photographer Lauren. So there's 3 of us, but there's other people in other departments. One of the other departments was the operators, and then the patient advocates or patient experience. I can't remember the name of that department. And they had all expressed interest in wanting to do video work because it looks like fun. And for the most part, my job is very fun. When I get to film people and kind of poke fun and make and joke around with them, it's fun. But it's also engineered to make them help them relax so I can get a good product out of what we're doing. So they had all expressed interest, and I just thought it would be a cool exercise. And yeah.
Well, that's a really interesting application of video that honestly I hadn't considered before. And we talk a lot about on this show and just internally about how important video is or has become, because obviously it was always important, in certain fields, but now it just feels like every field, no matter what, video has become just an important tool, whether it's for marketing purposes, education purposes. But I had never considered it being used as a team building, or to get something softer out of the end result, right? Like the end result, it's not even about the video. It's not about what you came away with. It's more about the process and what you put into it. And I don't know. I think that's just a really interesting approach. And I mean, is that something you continue to do, or do you have plans to do that?
We've done it twice. We've done it, I think, around in June of last year. We did it with a smaller group of people, just the studio team, and we all kind of liked it. So we were like, let's try it again, and we'll include some more people. I was like, all right, well, I'll reach out to the people who seemed interested in doing this and see if they wanted to do it. And each week, everybody had a deadline. So your deadline was submit your clip by, I think it was like Friday or Saturday at 5 or 6 p.m. And then I would make the video. I cut it together really quickly and send it to just our group on the following Sunday or Monday. I don't remember the exact days, but
right.
Yeah, they all seemed to like it. I think it was kind of cool. I didn't force anyone to do it. I would remind them, say, hey, you didn't submit your clip. Submit your clip if you want to do it. And a lot of times, not a lot of times, but a few times people didn't submit clips because they just didn't have time. And
Right.
of course, submitting 5 video clips in 5 weeks is a lot to ask someone to do, but I wanted it to be fun. So if it was going to stress them out, you don't have to. I just
Right. It's
want
counterproductive
something.
at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a pretty good idea, though. It's a nice
Those are the
way
only
to
kind I have,
utilize
Joe.
technology. I honestly didn't think that you had this in you. So, I mean, I'm blown away.
I'm a leader now, Joe.
Well, I was actually going to plug that,
There you
the
go.
That's what
idea
I've been
of
told.
building connection. That's one of the laws. It's one of the laws of leadership. Building connection. Wow.
I try.
Well, he's painting it a visual picture. So he's bringing them there. But I think that, it's all tied together. All of the storytelling is tied together. And that's the way that's your method of leading, right? You're bringing them kind of someplace telling the story together.
I guess. I don't think I thought of it that way.
Jim
was just
Marlowe
trying-
did.
I was just trying to have fun. Honestly. I mean,
Well, I would
thought
imagine
it,
that's needed at some points.
yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it would be a good exercise for all of us to just do. And I made it a point not to judge the clips that they were submitting and say, oh, if Joe Schmo submits a clip that's crap, I'm just going to throw it away and say, what are you doing? That's crap. I made it a point not to do any of that stuff. 'Cause
Why does
Right.
it
it
have
was
to be
just
Joe Schmo? What is that?
I mean,
That's a common term, Joe. You should change your name. Seriously.
to like
Joe. Just
Jim Gunderson.
Jim Gunderson.
Listen here,
I
French.
could have said John Smith.
That's true. Yeah, that's
That
another
would have been
common
better. Either way.
You get my
So-
point, though.
I totally get your point.
Okay.
This is good. I mean, this is it sounds like you found the thing you were looking for, the passion that you were looking to follow, and that's what it's all about, because then you enjoy
Bob
it.
Schmab.
Bob Schmab. Okay, there you go.
I like Bob Schmab. I'm going to use that from now on.
I remember actually
Bingo, bango. Your uncle's name is Jim. Oh, Bob. Nailed it.
So listen, now, how has things affected the last 2 years you worked inside of a hospital? What's the last 2 years been like?
The last 2 years have been brutal, but amazing. It was to see how this hospital almost evacuated just because like a lot of the staff couldn't come in, especially in the beginning parts. A lot of the staff couldn't come in to the hospital, and we took away all the waiting room seats, and I was walking around the hospital taking photos, which is not something I enjoy doing. I don't like taking photos, but our photographer volunteered to do some temperature screening for people when they were coming into the hospital to visit family members or just to come in general, even workers, the workforce. To see it evolve from what the hell is going on to we really got this stuff figured out, and I think I'm one of the rare few people in this organization that is able to go around freely to anywhere I want and take photos and take videos and see the evolution of how we handled the pandemic. It makes me truly proud to work here. Like, the more I think about it, the more I'm proud to work here. There's probably a few things that we could have possibly improved upon, and I would usually report those back to anyone upstairs. I say upstairs because they're literally upstairs, the executives, and they would always take what I'm saying and judge it accordingly. But a lot of the staff was there. It's hard to explain, man. It really is. All of my colleagues who do video creation that I was in touch with during the pandemic had no jobs. They had no work. They didn't know what to do. I think there was a bit of a issue with you guys too. I mean, everything shut down. So
Yep.
I know there was an issue with you guys. I saw you on the news talking about it. So it never hit me that way. I was coming to work every day. I was working more hours than I had ever worked in my life. I was making sure that I was documenting everything that was happening here. I knew that it was important because this is like hopefully a once in a lifetime opportunity to record such a historical event. The roads were empty. We built a tent for testing, and the way that we handled the tent for testing was miraculous in such a short time. It was, in retrospect, it was really great. It was a great thing to do. I'm thankful that I didn't get sick. I wore my masks like I was supposed to all the time. I didn't get sick at all. I still haven't gotten sick. I haven't even gotten a cold in like 2 years. So I followed all the guidelines. Yeah. I helped create some of the guideline videos and how they should be donning and doffing their protective equipment. I made a video that no one will ever see that was basically a recreation of the Office opening with the same music. And behind me there's a big conference room, which is now...
I mean, can we play it right now? I mean, what are we talking about?
I can't show it. No. Okay. I made it to every morning. The call center, the COVID call center, would have a powwow, like a group meeting to discuss how they're going to handle the day and any concerns. And I was going into that room and recording some of the people talking to some of the patients with no audio. I didn't want to hear what they were saying, and I shouldn't have. But I could see some of the callers were even crying on the phone because they're talking to people who are freaking out. They don't know what's going on. Some of them think it's a hoax. Some of them think it's not real. And I could tell you, definitely not a hoax. It was definitely real. I have the evidence to prove it with all the videos I've taken. But I made this video for the call center to try and boost their morale. Like, I thought it would be cool. I talked to one of the directors that I work with, and he liked the idea. So I made this. I literally recreated the opening of the Office and just showed it to that staff for the beginning, and they all seemed to like it. But that's like. Like I said, some of the videos I make don't really go anywhere, and they're just made for specific audiences. But I was happy to make something to help, my coworkers here feel better about what they were doing. And then we had some what we call code Rockies, which were people who were being discharged after surviving a horrible COVID experience. And we played the Rocky song, the Rocky Fight song, and they were being discharged from the hospital either to another step-down unit or to go home. And we filmed some of them leaving, and some of them were so powerful. We had one guy who was, I believe his entire town came to the hospital, and they were outside waiting for him. And he got up out of the wheelchair at the threshold of the doorway, and he walked out. And we got that recorded, and it was a beautiful moment. He got to see his family for the first time in like 38 days or something like that.
Oof. Wow.
Yeah, some of the stories are insane. The fact that we had I feel like all the police in the world and all the EMS in the world came to the hospital. There were so many cops. There were so many EMS workers. So many. So they came. The helicopters were flying around the hospital. They were buzzing. It was beautiful to see all this, and the staff was outside cheering everybody on. I had to constantly yell at people to put their masks on properly, but it was just nice to see how the healthcare workers are like wizards. It's just insane how awesome they are.
Wow. Well, I mean, there's so much there. I mean, the experiences that you
There's
must
a
have
lot.
had are, I couldn't entirely wrap my head around. Yeah, I mean, obviously our pandemic challenges were real, but it's not quite, the same as staring that kind of issue in the face on a daily basis. It's hard to wrap your head around, but it also speaks to, where your role comes in as far as, telling that story. And I have two questions for you, one of which is, more direct as far as this goes. Were there any projects that you worked on during that time that you're most proud of, or that stick in your memory the most as you're capturing what you just said, a historic time?
So there's two. I would say there's two projects. One is one no one will ever see, and we call it. I think we call it an honor walk, and that's when somebody who passes away is an organ donor, and they donate their organs to different, I guess I'm not sure the exact nuances of it, but they donate their organs to help other people survive. And when that happens, we have a very special thing that we do, where we'll walk that patient down. And when I say walk the patient, I mean they're not walking. They're in the bed because they're about to pass away. We walk that patient down a couple of hallways in the hospital, and the hallways are lined with all the healthcare workers, and they're just, in a way, not literally saluting, but saluting this patient who is doing such an amazing thing by giving the gift of life in their own passing. That's an amazing moment. We've done it a few times, and that's an amazing moment to be a part of. And the other one that's more of a documentary type thing is we're doing this thing where we're recording people. We're recording a thing called the Healing Chronicles, where we're interviewing a lot of different healthcare workers. I think we've interviewed like 125 healthcare workers within the network, and we've talked to them about how the pandemic has affected them, and what their definition of resilience is, and we have a lot of work to do with that. There's a lot of interviews, we've done it throughout the stages of the way the pandemic went, with the vaccinations being introduced and the Delta variant coming out. We've done a lot of aspects of that. We've done some group interviews with people talking about how their department handle things a certain way, and it's really cool to be a part of that. I mean, I'm just documenting it all, so I feel a little weird because I'm just watching people do these things. I'm not so much participating as I am just observing, but I'm starting to feel like what I'm doing is a lot more important than maybe I used to give credit for. So,
wow.
But those are the two big projects that I love.
I mean, I was just about to ask you if you see, especially as we're all distanced, or we have been distanced across the last 2 years, do you see video, just in general, as having greater importance?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we have iPad devices distributed throughout the hospital that help with. I think they're specifically for language interpretation, sign language, and different languages. But they also are used as two-way video devices. So if there's a patient with COVID that during the height of the pandemic, if there was a patient with COVID that was here that couldn't leave, we would allow them to video call their family because their family couldn't be there, because you can't be here when your family member's here, and I couldn't even imagine that. But it's important because we're trying to stop the spread of this disease. So it was very important not to have a lot of people here, and that was I don't want to get into too much detail, but I've seen some stuff, so yeah. I know what they're going through. I empathize with what they're going through, and it's difficult. You got to be strong to kudos to all the nurses and doctors and everybody that works here during this entire pandemic. It's wild. Well, they are heroes. Yeah.
I mean, in many ways, like both of my children were born after 9/11. So for them to actually understand it, we have to go back and look at pictures and videos, and I show them different things. you're essentially creating that story for many people further ahead that won't remember this time.
I didn't think of that. I don't think of
big deal.
stuff like that. It's weird. It's wild to hear that. I had never thought of that because obviously I grew up during 9/11. I would think I was 18 or 19 when that happened. So yeah, that was a crazy time. I would say just being here during this time, this is probably, if not more crazy, but at least equally crazy of a time right now. This has certainly lasted significantly longer.
It's a lot longer.
Yeah, it changed the whole world. I mean, this is definitely a bigger thing. It's changed everything. I don't think I ever want to walk outside without a mask again, even when they say you don't have to. I'm like, I haven't been sick in a long time, and I'm doing pretty well. So
We do talk about that. Like, nobody's been sick since they've been wearing a mask.
Yeah.
You know, but either way, that's
it's funny too. I've met a lot of
lot.
colleagues here that I still haven't seen their faces. I know them by name. I know them by their eyes. I can hear their voice, but I don't know what their faces look like.
What about on Zoom? You're
I
not
was just
talking
gonna
to them on
say,
Zoom
right.
or Teams
Oh,
or
it
whatever?
depends on
WebEx.
the team. It depends on who I'm talking to, who I'm working with. I don't do a lot of Zoom stuff. If I'm going and observing like the testing tent or the vaccination area, everyone's wearing a mask, so I don't normally see them on a regular basis. So there's a lot of people that work here. A whole
Well,
lot.
it is. It's a big place, and everybody's been doing phenomenal work. Hopefully, we can get out of this thing as quick
Absolutely.
as possible.
Absolutely. Well, and Seth, I have, shifting gears just a bit.
Sure.
We've had obviously a lot of really interesting discussion, and I hate to make it, bring it back to a professional realm when we just had, that kind of conversation. But in all of this, when you're telling these stories, when you're capturing this footage and you're documenting everything that's happening through the pandemic and before and into the future, are there ways that you measure your own success? Are there ways that because we're talking about something so emotional, and one of the things that we talk a lot about on this show in particular, it's one of the themes, is how people find success with technology. Are there ways that benchmarks or what have you that all right, you know what, I'm reaching that purpose this week or this month, or I'm getting to where I wanted to be, or is there any ways that you gauge?
I think that I'm super self-critical, so I don't really do that, and that's something my therapist tells me I should do a lot.
Sure.
I think for the most part I leave that to other people. I used to be the kind of kid where I didn't care what other people think about me, but now as a man, which is weird to say, I care more about that now because
Wow.
the perception of who I am or what I do is the reality of what people think and see of me. So I think for the most part, and maybe this isn't a safe thing to do or say, I leave that up to other people to decide. I let other people determine my worth, and so far I haven't been let down, especially by this organization. I mean, I asked for a computer that was pretty crazy of an ask to do, and I got it. And they knew the importance of what I did, the work that I do. They knew it. They were like, yeah, if you make videos, of course we're going to get you what you need. And they had no hesitation. I got it. So it was very cool. I was sweating, handing that PO over. I was like, this is a lot of money. I'm really sweating. And they were like, yeah, no problem. We need it. We need this work because you're doing a lot of work.
Wow.
And I ran through. I had a Mac Pro, and I ran through that computer in a very short amount of time. So they're very supportive.
Wow. Well, and I guess with, external factors like that being so cut and dry, at least in your view, then I guess that does work out, right?
Yeah, yeah. They enable it to make it easy for me. So.
Yeah. Oh, well, that sounds like you're in the right environment then.
Yeah, I am. Very
Excellent.
happy.
Well, to switch gears a little bit, why don't you tell us about VAST videography?
Okay. So I started Vast Videography, I think, in 2017. And it was initially a method to grow, to kind of move on from the healthcare network. I wanted to kind of move on and do more things that were I don't know, less clinical. And as I started
different challenge.
Yeah, a different challenge. And as I started to build Vast up, I realized that I didn't want to do that. I was really happy where I was, and it didn't make sense for me to keep pushing that forward. So I kind of now use Vast as an outlet to do, you know, I wanted to do weddings, which was not a great idea. I thought that I could just say, hey, I'm going to film your wedding. You're going to pay me this much money, and I'm going to make the video that I want to make. And it never worked out that way. And I shouldn't have ever thought that it would work out that way. It was very arrogant to assume that I'm going to make your wedding be what I want. And it was a dumb move. I've done only a few weddings, clearly. So it's funny, I think the pandemic changed my opinion on wanting to continue working in healthcare. I definitely still do. There's so much more I can do here, and now that I've been elevated, there's even more that I can do. I mean, I have more control over the stories. I have a much bigger reach, and now that I'm part of the network aspect of it, I could go to Health Alliance, do something there too. It's pretty great. We actually are working on a video. It's right now. So.
I think everybody recognizes the importance of video.
Yeah.
It's just magnified by a really important scenario, but it's always been important.
I do still use Vast for some personal stuff. Like I did a video series called Why Not Me, where we asked a couple of people to tell us their story. DeVell has this. I thought he was sitting there. DeVell has this thing where he has this beautiful ability to see the beauty in everyone, and it's genuine. He's such a genuine person. I love that he does that. He's not here, so I'm being real. And he pitched this idea, and I said, yeah, I also think that people have a story to tell, even if they think it's boring. It might be super interesting. Who knows? So we did this Why Not Me video series, and I think it came out pretty well. I published it on our Vast Videography YouTube channel and Facebook page and stuff, and we wanted to do a second season, and then the pandemic hit, and that's when we put that on hold because we just couldn't do anything else. We were so taxed out with all the work we were doing here, we could not branch out. We intend on doing more. And we actually have a couple people lined up to do another season of that show, but we enjoyed it. It was what we did was DeVell took photos and made a magazine out of all these models who are not models, and he gave each one of I think there was 9 people. He gave each one of them a copy of the magazine, and on the cover of the magazine is that model. Like if you were one of our models, you'd be on the cover of the magazine.
I think that's very appropriate.
Okay, Ryan, if you were one of the models, you'd be on the cover of the magazine.
Wow.
Yeah. Ryan's more humble than
I would be honored.
Oh, is he?
No, shut up. You can't. Oh God.
Did I just stoke a fire?
Yes, you
I
did.
Good.
Oh yeah, good old Ryan.
Oh, look at that. That's right.
He's so humble.
That's Sahona, the girl to your left is Sahona. I work with her.
Medical.
Yeah.
That's right.
She is one of the people I filmed for the call center. She's amazing. She is amazing. She's
Is
in
she
actually
better
like
than Ryan?
3 or 4 videos. Oh, she's better than Ryan. Of course she is. She's a healthcare worker.
you.
How could you even compare them?
That's what
I will respectfully bow out of that. Absolutely.
Yeah, she's great.
Well, listen, it's you got to get back to work, so I don't want to tie you up too much. But it's been this has really been enlightening. You know how people can use video, and the importance of video is certainly magnified by our world health crisis. Right. You know, and I think you're going to look back at this and you're going to see it as it's a real story. You know, and people are going to be learning about what happened during 2021 by watching your video. Yeah, it's
impressive. I haven't thought of it that way. I just keep moving forward and keep trying to record as much as I can. I haven't even thought about. I have a vision for the editing big picture, but not the actual impact it will have. Now I do. So thank you for that, Joe.
Well, we're looking forward to watching.
And if you ever need another person for the cover, just I'm just saying.
Oh, of course. You were on our list, man. You actually were. Ryan wasn't.
That's okay. No, I'm done. I'm out.
Ryan's a pro. He's a seasoned pro at this. Well, listen, we're going to wrap up. Thank you, Seth, very much.
No problem.
You have been a great guest.
You have.
I
Yeah.
mean, a really great guest.
I mean, I wouldn't want to say I'm the best one you've ever had, but
You are the best guest we've had all day.
Absolutely.
Hands
Okay,
down,
thanks.
bar none.
And we'll bring it back to
I'm
the
in-
tail of the tape, and you know.
I'm at least the 39th guest, right?
Oh crap!
Is
what?
that right?
This is the
I don't think
39th. Yeah, it's the 39th episode. Wow,
It
look at
is
that.
the 39th. Look, it's
too
like
bad
a,
it's gonna
Thanks
been
for
the
taking
big
so
4
long
Like
to
a
ask me to
highlight.
be on the show.
no. You're looking at it the wrong way. You're looking at it the wrong way. We were trying to make sure that our show was good enough for you to be on. That's all.
Right. Okay.
There we go.
Thank you.
Look, you have a fan club. Your fans are
Hey,
writing
Ethel,
in
yeah,
right now.
Ethel's great. Ethel's
So
great.
excellent job.
Thank you,
Seth,
Seth.
we're gonna boot you out of here now.
All right. See
But
you guys.
thank you very
Thanks
much.
for having me on. It was a pleasure.
Absolute pleasure. Mr. Ryan, I don't know if you can do better than that. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I certainly cannot. But as far as wrapping up the show, I don't know. I might have that one on lock.
Oh, or do you?
Let's find out.
Well, tell people where they can find us, Ryan.
LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, live. And while you're there, you can drop us a comment. You can like, you can comment, you can share, you can subscribe, you can do all of the above. Of course, if you do comment, you can be part of the show, just like Ethel was. Thank you, Ethel, for watching. And of course, we're going to be doing this every Wednesday at 1 o'clock or 1:04 or 1:05. Don't
1-ish.
quote us. It'll be in there, right? Somewhere around that range. And we're going to have more great guests like Seth every single week. So once again, big thank you to Seth, because I really thought that was a great discussion. I was happy to be a part of it.
Absolutely. No, it was really, that was a great show. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Time to go back to work.
Okie dokie. Take care until next week.
Bye-bye.